Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to spend some time with me on the video, because today, guys, we are going to cut to the chase and have an honest talk about the division amongst bass anglers in the country right now that is at an all-time high. It needs to be talked about. We're just going to have a pretty lengthy discussion on this, and really in light of what happened at the Bassmaster Classic with Easton Fothergill. That's one of the things that sort of has really brought this to light over the past week since that his win took place. So we're going to talk about that in today's episode. Also, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to extend a big round of thank you for everybody that's taken time to hit that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling, and all you guys that are using my video, all the links I put in my video descriptions. Much appreciated support of the channel, and big thank you from me and my family for doing that. Okay, guys, right off the bat, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to say a couple things about this division, then I'm going to talk, probably more importantly, the reasons why it's manifested in this particular episode. And I definitely look forward to hearing you guys' comments on it as well. First of all, the main thing I want to say in this video is there is no room, there's no reason, there's no reason whatsoever that we should be divided as a bass fishing community and single out and try to discriminate or belittle or whatever other groups of anglers. One of the things that's happened, and I'm going to talk about the reason why here in a little bit, over the past, really probably about the past 2 or 3 years, is there has been a segment of the bass fishing population that has really tried to discredit the younger anglers for their accomplishment, because a lot of them use forward-facing sonar technology, and they've sort of demonized them a little bit. And we've seen that, and one of the things that we've seen that happened to the Bassmaster Classic was in light of Easton Fothergill winning the Classic this year and Justin Hamner winning it last year, the fact that 2 rookies that were heavily involved with forward-facing sonar winning the Bassmaster Classic, it just rubbed a lot of people wrong, a lot of bass anglers wrong, and they started attacking those younger anglers, simply for winning the tournament, which is completely wrong. That's completely the wrong way to handle it. You can't try to take away somebody's day in the sun or take away their enthusiasm or their excitement for winning a tournament simply because you don't agree with the type of technology that they use or the method that they did it if it's legal. Now, a lot of people try to twist this around and say that I've been the big reason for this as far as this whole division. That is not true, guys. I am not some cult leader that has this legions of mindless followers that don't have the ability to make their own mind up about stuff. Bass fishermen and people are not stupid. They can assimilate information, they can assimilate facts and make their own decisions. So for people or somebody to say that I'm responsible for this division, that's just not true at all. And like I said, I've made a big effort. I have never singled out anybody for using forward-facing sonar, especially the younger anglers. I always talk about the bigger picture in terms of they're forced to use it. We've been through that before. But the main thing that I want to get across in this video, guys, is we have got to start being more respectful to everybody out there. Older anglers have got to start being more respectful to the younger anglers that are coming up in the sport. And the younger anglers have got to start being more respectful to the older anglers too, because it goes both ways, guys. When I talk about this, it's not a lot of people. There's a group of anglers out there that are, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, or just, I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's like they just don't agree with the method or whatever. There's a lot of older anglers. When I say old, I don't mean old. I'm talking about they can be in their late 20s and 30s and still be critical of this evolving class of younger anglers that are experiencing a lot of success through technology. Again, their success, they should not be demonized for their success. Let's keep our eyes on the ball here and what the real problem is, and that's the fact that this technology is available to them to be used. They're simply taking advantage of the legal technology that is to be used. You guys know I don't agree with the technology, but they are still playing within the framework. And when somebody does well or wins a tournament, they should not be demonized for it. They shouldn't. And it's the same with a younger angler. If like somebody comes out against the technology, the younger angler shouldn't say, you're just an old geezer, washed up grandpa, your day's over in the sun, shut up. It goes both ways with that. Main thing, guys, we've got to cool the temperature down on this and get back to the fact that everybody out there just loves fishing. I don't care if you're a 20-year-old flat brimmer. And guys, when I say flat brimmer, don't get mad or your panties in the water. That is just I'm just trying to be funny. We talked about this before. I'm not trying to demean that. So if you're one of those people that take offense to that, just have a little bit of sense of humor with that. That's what it is. So that's the main point I want to get across. And here's the thing about it. One of the things that you can relate this to is politics, guys. If you follow politics whatsoever, even marginally, and you've been around like myself, since John F. Kennedy was president when I was born, so I've been around a lot of presidents. I have never in my entire life, and you guys haven't either, seen the amount of division we have in this country politically. It's 50-50. I mean, that's the way it is. And it's the same in bass fishing. I've never seen so much division in bass fishing in my life. And it is attributed to forward-facing sonar. We're going to get into this. And there's no reason for that. Guys, do you know how many people, do you know how many people out there have seen family ties severed, and where people don't even talk to each other anymore over their political viewpoints? That never used to happen before. It never used to get brought up in bass fishing. It's only been the past, 8 or 9 years where that's become a thing. And it's the same with this technology and this division amongst the bass anglers, where it's us against them. We don't need, that is destructive. We do not need that. You can disagree, like myself. You can disagree with the LiveScope technology, but you don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to be hateful and vitriolic and just mean. That's the best way to put it. I mean, you can voice your opposition, or you can have the ability to agree to disagree. The same with politics. I don't understand how we have reached that level where it's just like you're just the freaking devil if you don't agree with somebody else on bass fishing or politics, either one. Okay, so anyway, let's get in. If you're going to have this conversation, let's get into the meat of it, why it's happening. Because we've clarified it right off the bat that we've got this division in the sport. And I've also clarified that in this particular situation, my screen looks a little dirty there. I've also clarified in this situation that there's no room for to be disrespectful, to be mean, or to be divisive. I think we can all agree with that. Let's talk about the bigger picture, why that's happening on both ends of it here. Okay, now, why are younger anglers being demonized or criticized or singled out as a group by some people trying to take their accomplishments away? Here's the thing with that. Here's what's happening, and I know this is happening because of all the people I've talked to, their perception of it. First of all, one of the reasons that some anglers have that attitude about younger anglers is they don't feel that they've earned the success because that success has come through technology. There was yesterday at the tournament, I had one guy coming up to me and say that exact same thing about he'd been tournament fishing for 25 years and now everything he knows is worthless because of LiveScope. Everything he knows about fishing, he was super frustrated about it. That's a reoccurring theme, and that's one of the big reasons is you have a lot of older anglers out there that have really went through a bunch of blood, sweat, and tears learning how to bass fish, and now they see somebody out there that's 20, 21 years old, that's doing well and winning major tournaments completely through the use of forward-facing sonar, and they don't think that's right. That's one reason with that. The other reason is the income disparity that we talk about. Now, this is one thing, there is a reality to it, because I've never seen a group of anglers like the younger crop of anglers right now that have more money than they do. It wasn't like that back when I started out. It's like when I started out, if you were 20 years old bass fishing, you didn't have any money. You were working a minimum wage job just getting out of school, and you had a junky, everything you had was junky. You couldn't afford to fish tournaments. And now there's this wave of younger anglers that seem to be very financially well off through probably, independent means, family money or whatever. And a lot of people, and there's a lot of older anglers that see that as an inequity in terms of an unlevel playing field towards anglers that don't have money. So that's another reason why you've got that perception with that. So the combination of having this unlevel playing field, having, the technology readily available at the hands, and just the generality of being young and full of the vigor of life. I mean, guys, I was the same way when I was in my early 20s. That's part of being in your early 20s. Sometimes you come across a little brash and a little cocky, a little arrogant, and older people get turned off by that. So this combination of this cockiness, sometimes, not with all of them, but some of them, cockiness, more money, and the technology, that's what forms this perception, this negative perception about some people. Okay, now let's break that down. There's no reason for that because number one, like I said, the younger anglers are using the technology legally. It's not their fault that they have access to money. It's like if you're 20 years old and your parents are well off and they want to help you out, good for you. That's not the kid's fault for doing that. And number three, it's just like people love to bass fish. Everyone out there loves to bass fish, and it's like you should not, how you get to that should not be demonized with it, but some people do with it. And okay, on the other hand, let's talk about why younger anglers discriminate or disrespect older anglers out there. I've heard the same thing. It's like it's like, okay, Grandpa, your day in the sun's over. How long do you think you want to fish? It's like you're 50 years old and there's no other sport out there you can last that long. It's time to retire. They can't keep up with the times. They're stuck in their ways. They're just, they're washed up. I've heard the disrespect on both sides of it. And here's the thing about that from what I've seen. It's not like an old versus young thing, because I tell you, one of the most opinionated age demographics of anglers that I've seen on both sides of it are the anglers in their 30s, whether it be towards younger anglers or older anglers. So you can't group or label anybody into the same category with that. Now, let's talk a little bit about what can be done with that. First of all, as somebody that is like in the trenches on this thing, the main thing that I want to get across here, the absolute main thing, is that I don't understand. It seems like ever since Easton Fothergill won the Classic, I've gotten labeled as like the person that's responsible for all this negativity towards younger anglers, which again is a bunch of BS, because I'm not some cult leader. But the thing that we have to do with it is we have to determine how to move forward with this, and what is going to be the best way to do it. Now, that being said, that there's no room for disrespect, there's no room for this division in the sport of bass fishing. My stance remains the same. This is entirely the fault of forward-facing sonar and advancing technology. And a lot of you guys are going to say, oh, here it comes again. Randy cannot have a conversation without bringing up forward-facing sonar. That's because forward-facing sonar is the root of the problem. When you talk about the division in the sport, forward-facing sonar, there may be some other elements like the income disparity we talked about, but most of it revolves around forward-facing sonar, this division of the sport. You can't deny the reality of that. And I stand strong on my point. Forward-facing sonar is the worst thing that has ever happened to the sport. It's the most destructive thing that's ever happened. It's potentially the most destructive thing that's ever happened. It has degraded and lessened the sport on every single metric. Every single metric that you measure what bass fishing is, or the state of this industry. I don't care if it's being tackle sales are down, tournament participation's down, co-angler participation's down. Everybody's divided. Everybody's pissed off at everybody because of forward-facing sonar. You can't deny that. You cannot have this conversation and talk about the division that's occurring in bass fishing right now without bringing up forward-facing sonar. So don't try to sweep it under the rug. Call it out for what it is. Forward-facing sonar is the main reason for that, and that's why I'm always talking about so many of the problems that we have in the sport, whether it be division or whatever, goes away with that. It's just take it right off the bat. If tomorrow, it's like if Bassmaster listened to all this, or MLF, and said tomorrow, it's like, guys, it's just not worth it. We're going to get rid of forward-facing sonar. And then fast forward 5 years down the road, where there's been no forward-facing sonar, it doesn't take a genius to realize how much of that division will just go away completely. The next thing you do with that, guys, is you take away that income disparity where it has an influence on the playing field. So what you do is you put equipment limitations on anglers that allow them where they can't have $50,000 worth of electronics, or they can't have things that other anglers can't afford. You level the playing field. You make it where anglers can't go out there and practice for weeks on end, and just make it where it's fair for everybody. So if you level the playing field through the rules, you get rid of forward-facing sonar, so many of the problems that we have just go away, just completely melt away with that. But that's the big dilemma that we're in right now, because you have a group of people out there that have a vested interest in perpetuating seeing this goes on. I mean, there's people, most of the people out there that are for forward-facing sonar, they've got some vested interest in it, whether they're relying on that technology for their success, whether they're profiting financially off it from maybe a sponsorship from the electronic companies or whatever it may be. But most people that are for that technology have a vested interest in keeping it legal for their own means. So, and then you have, so many people out there that are just completely against the technology. But main thing about it, guys, is nobody wants to see this division, like I said. And if I have been, like I said, I talked about it in my video the other day. If I've had any part in creating that division out there, that was not my intention to do that. I mean, I tried to put forth my point of view as my concern about the future sustainability of the sport. That gets twisted around a lot, where people think I'm doing it for clicks and all this stuff. I can assure you guys right now, that is not it. I don't want to be hated on. I don't want to lose subscribers. I mean, I don't want people to hate me because of my viewpoint on forward-facing sonar. It's not worth it. So from my point, I mean, everybody can do something. I can do something. One of the things that I have talked about in the video that I did the other day is I'm toning back some of the rhetoric that I used that some people perceived as offensive, because I can still get my point across that forward-facing sonar is the devil without using those offensive terms. That's one thing that I can do as a content creator. Everybody can do the same thing. But I think what it takes here, it takes some empathy on everybody's part. If we were more empathetic as a group of anglers, I don't think this would happen. If older anglers were empathetic to what the younger group is going through right now, it would eliminate so much of that. Excuse me. If younger anglers were empathetic to what it's like to go through the aging process, that would be better. If tournament organizations were empathetic about the divisiveness that technology is coming through, it'd be better. And if the electronic companies were empathetic about what they have started here with this division, that would be better too. So just empathize with each other, man. Be kind with each other. That's the deal about this. I don't get it, guys. I don't. Like I said, I have been in the sport forever, and this has never occurred before, ever. I mean, it's like most fishermen before, they got along great. There's never any division. You know the only division prior to forward-facing sonar, and I've been doing this, guys, since the early 80s, tournament fishing. I've been around, those tournament anglers are my family. They're like my second family. There's never been any division except the only division I have ever seen in my entire career as a professional angler were some type of like religious viewpoints. There would be some anglers out there that were like super religious, and some anglers out there were not religious. And there would be some quiet conversation. Like people would say, oh, they just didn't agree with their, religious viewpoints, which that's an age-old deal. People have always talked about. That was it. But nobody talked about it. And people just went on fishing. Now, another reason why this has been manifested so much and why we're seeing this in politics and fishing today is simply because of the information age that we have now. The internet, the social media, smartphones, it's so easy to voice your opinion. on something. And one of the things that happens to anybody out there that uses social media is that the nature of social media makes it easier to put your point of view out there without really thinking about it twice. Because if you're having a conversation with somebody in person, you have more discipline to say something, to not say something, or at least most people have the discipline not to say something to another person. But if they're on social media, that sort of gets taken away. They sort of have this sense of freedom that they can say or do whatever they want to. And I think that's a big reason that we've seen the issues and problems we have, with this whole disrespect and division in the sport, is social media has enabled that to a little bit. So anyway, guys, one thing that I will say with this is this is one of the things I think everybody needs to focus on. It's very, very easy to demonize somebody or call somebody names or call somebody or say you're going to call somebody out or say something to somebody if you're not with them in person. Most people, if you have a conversation and you're one-on-one with somebody and you talk to them like a real human being and you have a disagreement, it's never as intense, ever. It's like the ability to get on social media or even a podcast and say something, it's a lot of times you're saying stuff that you wouldn't say to other people out there. I've seen the same thing, guys. You talk about somebody that has been disrespected and attacked. All you have to do is go to podcasts or Google Randy Blockett, and you'll see how many people have freaking attacked me. Now, I've had conversations. I have heard people on podcasts just freaking ream me out and on social media. And I have talked to those same people on the phone or in person, and it's never that intense. It's like when you get around the energy of another person, you realize that people aren't that bad, man. People are not these freaking villains that we try to make them out on social media. So that's one thing that we sort of have to, remind ourselves a little bit. It's like we all have so much in common in the sport. It's like we are not at war with each other in the sport of bass fishing. It's like we've seen everything that's taken place to create this division. But I think the more that we just have conversations, the better it is. And you have got to keep it respectful, man. You have got to keep it respectful and civil. And that's one of the most disparaging things that I have seen on podcasts and social media is just that lack of respect. Because when you disrespect somebody or don't show somebody respect, I mean, that just, people's defenses automatically go up. So anyway, one of the things about it, guys, I've never seen a situation where if you get somebody out of the boat and you get fishing with somebody, it doesn't matter if what your viewpoint differences are. It just seems to always melt away when you get in the boat, because it all goes back to people just loving to fish. It's like we share a common bond in this that most of the public doesn't understand it. It's like, I don't care if you're a hardcore 20-year-old flat brim and live scoper, or if you're, an old washed up geezer like myself. We're a family, man. We're a family that loves to bass fish. And most people that don't bass fish do not understand that. They don't understand that passion. And we don't need to be fighting with ourselves. We don't need to be fighting with ourselves in this country about politics. We don't need to be fighting with ourselves about if you love live scope or hate live scope. You can have your differences and your disagreements, but just be nice about it, man. That's the whole thing about it. And there's a lot of people out there that aren't nice. And like I said, the reason I wanted to do this video was in light of the attacks that came on Easton Fothergill. I saw a bunch of them in my social media about people just trying to diminish his win, attacking him by name personally for winning the Classic. And that is not right. You can disagree with, the technology end of it and everything we talked about, but ultimately, guys, you can't try to knock somebody off their day in the sun, simply because you don't agree with that. So we're not perfect, guys. We all make mistakes. Every person, including myself, that's watching this video, you've said something that you regret. You've said something you wish you could have took back. You said something that you probably could have framed differently. And it's okay, because we're not perfect, man. We all make mistakes. We're all human. But in the big picture and the end of it, just be nice to each other, man. That's all it is. Because Guys, we don't have much time here. I don't care how old you are. We don't, everyone watching this video, we're here for a very short time on this planet. We're not, one day, everyone out there watching this video, one day you're not going to be bass fishing. You're not going to be able to bass fish. There's going to be situations that come up in your lives where you're not going to be able to fish. You're going to lose loved ones. We're here on this planet for a very, very short time. So let's just be good to each other. Let's be kind to each other. And you can still be passionate about your viewpoint. You can still believe what you want to believe, but you can be nice doing it. And like I said, I still think, like, my personal opinion is forward-facing sonar is the worst thing that has ever happened to the sport. It's the most destructive thing, but I can maintain that point of view, and I can still learn and be nicer and be more empathetic moving forward. So that's just one of the things I want to impress on everybody. Let's just be nicer to each other. So anyway, guys, hope you all are well, and appreciate you tuning in, and we'll check them later. See you.